There's a sentence that repeats over and over throughout the Bible. Every time an angel appears before someone, the same warning follows: do not be afraid. Sometimes it appears as fear not or be not afraid. But the message is the same, and it's repeated more than 300 times throughout Scripture. And here's a surprising truth. We've been misled. The angels in the Bible are not what most people imagine them to be. They are not childlike figures with wings floating on clouds, nor are they ethereal women with white robes. That image is a fabrication. The reality is quite different. The true angels of the Bible are awe-inspiring, beyond human comprehension, and deeply striking. They are beings that defy human logic, instilling fear upon their appearance. We witness this repeatedly in the Bible. Do not be afraid, Mary. The angel tells the young virgin as he reveals, she will carry the Son of God in her womb. Abraham heard these same words when he looked up at the stars, as did the shepherds on that night in Bethlehem. Why such fear? What did these beings look like that terrified people so much? The answer is clear, because what they were seeing was not human. And that's the truth we're going to reveal today. We are going to shatter the false image of angels and discover what they are truly like according to the Bible. We'll delve into the levels of heaven and the invisible hierarchies. Stick around until the end, because today you will learn about something very few dare to reveal. The most mysterious angels in the entire Bible, the most baffling beings ever described, the living wheels covered in eyes, eternally revolving, guarding the throne of God. When we hear the word heaven, many of us picture a singular place, a spiritual, radiant realm where God resides and souls find peace. However, the Bible never depicts heaven as a singular, simple place. On the contrary, it portrays it as a complex structure, a hierarchy buzzing with levels, roles, and dominions that exist above us. The Apostle Paul states it clearly. I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up to the third heaven. If there's a third heaven, then there must be a first and a second. This suggests that the heavenly world isn't flat or uniform at all levels, but is organized, stratified, and full of distinct functions, much like a royal kingdom. The Bible reveals that heaven is far more complex than we ever imagined. We are surrounded by an invisible world, a world that interacts with ours, even though we can't perceive it. Let's explore the first level, the first heaven, the visible sky. The first heaven is the sky we can all see, the firmament, the atmosphere, the space surrounding the earth. It is what God created in the beginning when he said, "Let birds fly above the earth across the vault of the sky." This is merely the lowest level. No angels or spiritual powers reside here. It is the stage for the visible creation, home to the clouds, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Yet beyond what the eye can see lies the second heaven. The second heaven, the spiritual intermediate sky. This level is invisible yet active. The second heaven is the intermediate domain where constant spiritual warfare rages. What happens there influences the earth, and what happens on earth echoes in that realm. Here are the fallen angels who still retain power alongside God's angels, who serve as warriors and messengers fighting for the divine will. Many of these beings continue to operate as spiritual authorities over regions, cultures, and empires. This is clearly depicted in the book of Daniel, when an angel appears and delivers a startling message. From the very first day that you set your heart, your words were heard. And it is because of your words that I have come. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia opposed me for 21 days. Then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to assist me. This prince of Persia isn't an earthly king. It's a spiritual entity that controlled the region from the unseen realm and blocked the messenger's path to Daniel. The archangel Michael, one of the leaders of the celestial army, had to intervene to clear the way. This reveals that this second heaven is a spiritual battlefield, a territory contested between light and darkness. Most importantly, humanity is not outside of this battle. It's a disputed territory, and although human eyes cannot see it, its influence continuously affects human history. There are invisible dominions, thrones, and armies in a dimension our eyes cannot witness, but that impact us. Above all, there is the third heaven. The third heaven, God's throne. The third heaven is the highest, the purest, and the most inaccessible. It is the realm of God's eternal throne, untouched by any shadow of evil or corruption. Known also as paradise, it's where one experiences complete communion with God. This is the heaven Isaiah glimpsed when he wrote, "I saw the Lord high and exalted, seated on a throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple." Here there is no conflict, no darkness, no opposition. It's the very heart of the eternal kingdom. This is the heaven John describes in Revelation, where seals are broken and living creatures revolve around the throne, proclaiming, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty." In this third heaven dwell the angels, closest to God, for not all angels are the same. Just as heaven is organized into these three levels, so are angels arranged in hierarchy. Some are messengers, others are warriors. Some guard sacred places. Each has a role and occupies a specific place in the kingdom. And not all reside in the same heaven. Some act on earth, others battle in the intermediate heavens, while some never leave God's presence. Yet there is one type of angel unlike any we've ever imagined. This is the most mysterious angel in the Bible, the one no one understands but who upholds the glory of God. They are the Ophanim, and to understand their nature, we must first know the hierarchy of heaven's armies. When we hear the word angel, we often think of a single type of being. But in the Bible, an angel literally means messenger. The scriptures and ancient texts reveal that the heavenly kingdom is composed of distinct orders, each with specific tasks and positions, much like a perfectly structured army. Imagine an invisible kingdom, as organized as any human realm, but far more expansive. There are ranks, roles, and hierarchies. Each type of angel operates on a different level of heaven. In the first and second heavens, there are angels and archangels. At the lowest level are the ordinary angels, the messengers. These are the ones who most frequently interact with us. They appear in dreams, guide us, protect us, and bring us specific messages. They are the ones who visited Lot before the destruction of Sodom and accompanied Jacob in his vision of the heavenly ladder, angels descending and ascending, working on earth to fulfill divine missions. Higher up the celestial hierarchy beyond the common angels are the archangels. The word itself literally means chiefs of angels, and their rank is impressive. They are not limited to delivering individual messages. They are strategists, leaders of unseen battles, commanders of entire armies. In the Bible, only one is explicitly named with this title, the Archangel Michael. He is the great prince who defends God's people and the leader who, in Revelation, battles the dragon and casts Satan and his rebellious angels out of heaven. Yet Michael does not stand alone. Judeo-Christian tradition, reflected in texts like the Book of Enoch and the Book of Tobit, reveals that there are other archangels of great significance. The Archangel Gabriel is the herald of profound revelations. He appears in the Book of Daniel to explain prophecies, and later he stands before Zechariah to announce the birth of John the Baptist, and months after that, before Mary, to inform her that she will bear the Son of God. The Archangel Raphael, the healer and protector, accompanies young Tobit, rescues him from danger, vanquishes an evil spirit, and restores the sight of Tobias's father. He himself declares, "For I am the angel Raphael, one of 7 who stand before the Lord." Lastly, the Archangel Uriel, mentioned in the Book of Enoch, emerges as the illuminator of prophecies, revealing secrets about the end times and the nature of divine glory. These 4 names are just a glimpse for in apocryphal texts. There is talk of even 7 archangels who stand before God's throne, each with specific missions. However, despite their authority and closeness to us, archangels are not at the top of the hierarchy. They are part of what tradition calls the third hierarchy, closest to the human world. And above them are even higher orders dedicated not to waging war or bringing messages, but to living in the very presence of God. Higher up in the third heaven we find the cherubim. Cherubim are the guardians of the sacred. They watch over the places where God's presence resides. The first mention of them in the Bible is in Eden, when man is expelled and God places cherubim with a flaming sword to protect the path to the tree of life. He placed on the east side of the Garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword, flashing back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life. Later, in the Ark of the Covenant, God commands cherubim to be carved on the ark, their wings outstretched over the mercy seat, safeguarding the place where God spoke with Moses. Their appearance is revealed in more detail in the visions of Ezekiel: 4 faces of a man, lion, ox, and eagle with 4 wings, straight legs like those of a calf, and a gleam of bronze. Even higher are the seraphim, closest to the throne. Their name means burning ones or fiery ones. These are beings of fire, of pure light, so near to God's presence that they appear ablaze like living embers. Isaiah saw them around the throne of God and reveals to us their appearance. I saw the Lord, high and exalted, seated on a throne. Above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they were flying. Their voices were not gentle. Isaiah says they called out to each other, and their words echoed through the temple. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. At that moment, Isaiah realized something. He was witnessing perfect holiness, and he was not worthy to be there. He thought about how his lips had spoken wrong things, and how he lived among people who did the same. This truth brought him to his knees as he cried out in fear, I am ruined. I have unclean lips, and I have seen the King. But then the unimaginable happened. One of the fiery seraphim broke away from its flight around the throne, took a burning, glowing coal, and came toward Isaiah. It placed the red-hot coal on Isaiah's lips and said, See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away, and your sin atoned for. In that instant, Isaiah felt something change within him. The fire had purified him, and from that moment on, his lips were no longer his own. They became instruments of God's voice. This is what seraphim are like: fiery beings covered with wings, always in motion, constantly proclaiming the glory of the Most High. They are not warriors or messengers. They are perpetual worshippers. Their sole purpose is pure adoration, the continuous proclamation of God's holiness. For this reason, they are beings consumed by divine glory, reflecting purity and fire. And finally, beside the seraphim are those who are rarely mentioned, the Ophanim. Although their name sounds symbolic, they are real creatures, featuring in one of the most puzzling stories in the entire Bible, the vision of the prophet Ezekiel. Ezekiel was far from home, exiled in Babylon. Jerusalem had fallen, the temple lay in ashes, and the promised land seemed to have been forgotten by God. But then God revealed something far more unsettling to him. It wasn't a vision of the past, nor a promise for his present. It was a revelation of the future. Ezekiel recounts the moment with precision. In my 30th year, in the 4th month, on the 5th day, while I was among the exiles by the Kabar River, the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. The river Kabar was a grand canal near Babylon, an artery of water used for trade and the forced labor of the exiles. In that place lived a marginalized Jewish community, far from the temple and far from God. For 5 years, Ezekiel lived among the exiles, watching as the people repeated their mistakes, even in a foreign land. But suddenly, the heavens opened. Ezekiel looked up, and from the north came a whirlwind, and within that storm was a massive cloud, wrapped in fire, with lightning flashing from one side to the other. From that cloud emerged 4 living creatures, the cherubim of God. Each had 4 faces, a human, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. Their wings spread out, 2 reaching upward, covering their bodies, and 2 touching the wings of the creature beside them. Their legs were straight, their feet like those of a calf, gleaming like polished bronze. They did not walk as we do. They moved in a straight line, never swerving, for they went precisely where the Spirit guided them. The sound of their wings was deafening. Ezekiel described it as the roar of many waters, like the voice of the Almighty, like the rumble of an army on the march. Everything around trembled with that sound, as if the air was alive and the earth quaked beneath their feet. And then Ezekiel saw something no prophet had described before. I saw a wheel on the earth beside the living creatures, and the appearance of the wheels and their workmanship was like the color of beryl, and their appearance and work were as a wheel within a wheel. For the first time in the Bible, the living wheels appeared covered with eyes, moving in unison with the cherubim. When the living creatures moved, the wheels moved beside them, for the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Ezekiel is astounded. How can one possibly describe such a vision? He uses earthly words for something never before seen. Gigantic wheels. But these weren't ordinary wheels. They were wheels within wheels, as if one rotated perpendicularly within the other, enabling them to move in any direction without turning. Their appearance was dazzling like chrysolite, and even more terrifying, they were covered with eyes all over. Ezekiel insists that the wheels moved in sync with the living creatures. When the living creatures moved, the wheels moved alongside them, and when they rose from the ground, the wheels rose with them. And he adds something that leaves us speechless. The spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Can you imagine it? They are part of a perfect celestial organism, as if God's throne itself were alive and in constant motion. The wheels had no separate will. They did not act on their own, but were so closely connected to the cherubim that they seemed like a single being. Wherever one went, they all went, and wherever one looked, they all turned. They do not speak or announce any words, for their function is not to bring news or execute judgments. They are simply there to convey glory, being the mobile base of the heavenly chariot, the living support of God's throne. Yet everything that Ezekiel saw holds profound meaning. The wheels were covered with eyes all over. There was no blind spot, no hidden place. The eyes see everything, representing something only God possesses, omniscience. He sees all, and the eyes on the wheels declare that his knowledge is absolute. The wheels never stop. They move with a constant flow. They rise and fall, perfectly synchronized with the cherubim. This isn't just a display of power. It's a symbol of God's omnipresence. His throne isn't fixed in a single place. He is everywhere at once. His presence spans the heavens, crosses the seas, penetrates prisons, and even rises in exile. But why a wheel within a wheel? Why such an improbable design? This form represents something beyond our comprehension. Infinity, eternity, and divine mystery. A wheel inside another wheel, spinning endlessly with no beginning or end, independent of human axles. This is God, eternal, limitless, beyond any framework. What is incomprehensible to us is natural to him, a perfect system needing no instructions. Ezekiel observes and repeats, they moved with the Spirit. There is no voice directing them, no external commands, no need for maps or paths, because God's Spirit itself is their guide. Ezekiel discovers that God's glory isn't tied to a place. The heavenly throne is not static. It moves, and his presence can manifest anywhere. Yet Ezekiel's vision isn't an isolated event. Throughout the Bible, other prophets and visionaries have glimpsed the heavens, and their words fit together like pieces of the same puzzle. Daniel, for instance, witnessed something astonishing as he gazed upon the end of times. I kept watching until thrones were set in place, and an Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was as white as snow, and the hair on his head like pure wool. His throne was flaming with fire, and its wheels were all ablaze. There they are again, wheels associated with the throne. Wheels ablaze that are no mere embellishments, but symbols of God's movement, power, and active presence. Centuries before Christ, the prophet Zechariah also glimpsed a piece of this mystery. Behold, 4 chariots emerged from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were made of bronze. In the first chariot were red horses, in the second black horses, in the third white horses, and in the fourth dappled horses. These chariots were sent to traverse the earth, messengers and executors of divine judgments. This apocalyptic imagery suggests movement, commands fulfilled, a heaven that acts within human history. In the final book of the Bible, John is taken up in spirit and describes the eternal throne. And around the throne were 24 thrones. Seated on the thrones were 24 elders, and around the throne and above the throne were 4 living creatures full of eyes in front and behind. Again the same structure, a greater throne, lesser thrones, living creatures covered with eyes, all forming an organized celestial court. When you piece together these testimonies, the image becomes clearer. We are not looking at isolated visions, but fragments of a single design, a structured heaven, a real kingdom, a throne that moves, and a court that functions like a living organism. Wheels, chariots, fiery beings, elders on thrones. It all speaks of a perfect order in the unseen, a heavenly governance that upholds and directs all of creation. But the Bible isn't the only place where the Ophanim make an appearance. In the book of Enoch, the Ophanim are mentioned by name, and we read, "And the Seraphim, Cherubim and Ophanim, all the angels of power, and the angels of the dominions and the chosen ones, and the others who are over the earth and the water, they all lifted their voice with one purpose and glorified, blessed, praised, and exalted with one spirit, with one voice." Enoch describes how he was brought before the throne of God, where he saw the Ophanim spinning eternally, enveloped in fire and radiance, alongside the cherubim, seraphim, and the mightiest archangels. They were sentient beings, part of the living machinery of the kingdom. Enoch claims their eyes are countless, their motion unending, and their presence causes even the lesser angels to tremble. But Enoch adds something more that the Bible does not mention. He calls them angels of sound and eternity. According to this ancient text, their movement isn't silent. It produces a thunderous roar, a song that sustains the cosmos. They are living gears that mark the rhythm of time and guard the mystery of eternity. They are voices without mouths, hymns without words, resonating before the throne of the Almighty. Not only do Jewish texts mention them, but centuries later in Christian theology, the enigmatic pseudo-Dionysius, the Areopagite, included them in his renowned hierarchy of celestial beings. Here the Ophanim are identified as part of the thrones, the highest tier in the 9 celestial hierarchies, standing alongside seraphim and cherubim. Dionysius describes them as bearers of justice and divine governance, entities so close to God that they embody His will without the need for words. When we ponder these ancient visions, we might dismiss them as distant tales. Yet the Bible tells us something different. Paul wrote, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." This implies that the invisible realm directly impacts our experiences in the present. Angels, including these mysterious Ophanim, are not merely symbolic. The Bible asks, are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for those who shall be heirs of salvation? Invisible realities surround us, spiritual movements that sustain, protect, and fulfill God's will as we go about our daily lives without noticing. God's throne isn't fixed in a corner of the universe. It moves, it advances, for His glory is not confined to a temple or a moment in the past. And now, after gazing at the heavens and peering into the mystery of the Ophanim, the words that started it all resonate with newfound power. Do not be afraid. Fear not what you do not understand. Fear not the invisible nor the mysteries of heaven. Open your spiritual eyes. Let this vision ignite your faith. Seek the truth and surrender to what surpasses your understanding. And now, after all you have heard, I ask you, do you feel there are angels acting around you even though you can't see them? We live in times where the spiritual and the earthly intersect more than we imagine. And what once seemed ancient is more alive than ever. And do you recognize traces of what you've heard today and what happens around you? Have you seen signs? Leave your comment in the comment box. And if you want us to continue exploring these hidden mysteries of the Bible, give the video a like and share it, because that's how we'll know we should keep revealing more secrets of the kingdom, more visions, and more prophecies being fulfilled before our eyes. And if you want to delve even deeper, Click now on the video you see on the screen, the book of Isaiah. For Isaiah was the prophet who saw it all. He saw the heavens open, the fall of empires, heard the seraphim, and left warnings of the end times. But Isaiah not only witnessed judgment, he also foresaw eternal hope. He envisioned the Messiah before his birth and was the first to proclaim the great promise of a Savior who would come to take away the sin of the world. If this topic has moved you, what you will discover in the book of Isaiah will impact you even more. Blessings.